Welcome friends to another r/MaliciousCompliance video. If you don't want to be a malicious soul today, make sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons down below. That said, our first story of the day is by Mashaz. Buy what I can afford? Okay. Last month I was shopping around for a washing machine. For context, I'm in Nairobi, Kenya. Yes, it's a place. Yes, it's in Africa. Yes, we have electricity and running water. And I'm a bit of a late bloomer, so I look more like a 23-year-old, but I'm 32. Also, I'm a photographer and I dress for comfort, so I more often than not look homeless. Back to the story. I looked up what I wanted online and saw it was available at one of the major chains. But since I was free, I decided to go to the store in person. I went straight to the section with laundry equipment and one of the salesmen came to me. I was busy checking out the model I wanted, opening the door, reading the spec sheet and whatnot. So after he greeted me, we started talking about it. He asked if I'm interested in buying it, and I told him I'm considering it and asked for the price. It was just shy of $900. I knew from their website, but since I was in the store, I asked if they had in-store discounts or discounts for return customers and inquired about their payment plans. I had bought a cooker from there a few months before, so I knew all these things existed. And while I could afford to buy the washer outright, it would have left me a little cash strapped, and I wanted to spread the payment over 2 or 3 weeks. Also, I'm frugal, so I always look for discounts. At around this time, a well-dressed couple came into the same section, probably looking to buy something as well. And as soon as the salesman saw them, he walked to them and left me hanging. I called to him like, "Hey, I wasn't done." And he said, "I'm serving a client now. I'll come back to you in a bit. In the meantime, look around for something you can afford." I was furious, but I'm a bit of a coward, so I walked away and went to the customer service station and started making my inquiry all over again. The attendant offered to call a sales agent for me, same guy, apparently he's the go-to guy for washing machines, but I declined. I told her I already knew what I wanted, and I just needed someone to help me with the paperwork and payment, and I'll be on my way. She did just that. I paid the full amount out of spite, and as we were finishing up, the salesman came up to her claiming I was his client, which I denied, and the attendant listed herself as the sales agent. It turns out they earn a 10% commission from each sale, and the guy just missed out on a decent bonus. Salesmen earn around $300 plus commissions monthly. As I left, I turned to him and said, "Turns out I could afford it," with the biggest grin I could muster. Felt good. I don't blame OP for doing that. If you were at the store and you started asking about payment plans and whatnot, and the employee started helping somebody else out of the blue who might make a sale, would that make you refuse to do business with that store? Let me know in the comments down below. Our next story is by Odge Time. Shower time limit enforced by a song of my choice? Don't mind if I do. This happened last week. I lived in a shared house with 2 other flatmates. One of them's currently away on vacation, and the other one unilaterally decided to impose a 5-minute time limit in the shower usage in order to reduce our gas usage due to soaring high prices. Now let me be absolutely clear, I'm in full support of this and I have absolutely nothing against the idea. However, in order to make it fun, she decided that we should make a selection of 5-minute songs and use it to time our showers. Again, not a bad idea, but the main problem is that my flatmate works at a brunch place, so she wakes up every weekday at 5:30 a.m. Of course, I had music blasting at freaking 5 a.m. for an entire week. On top of that, my bedroom's right next to our shared bathroom, so I know my flatmate likes to sleep in late on the weekends, so I decided to do the opposite and put our new agreement into place. I went through my death metal and doom metal playlists, sorted them by time, thanks Spotify, grabbed a few songs that were 5 minutes long, give or take a few seconds, and then I woke up on Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. and had the most satisfying showers I ever had. Sunday afternoon, she asked me not to play that noise while taking a shower and play normal music. After a short talk, I convinced her to ditch the showering with music. Mission freaking accomplished. I may just be really bad with wasting water and maybe just enjoying how nice it is to be in the warm water, but I feel like 5-minute showers are just too short for me. Like for you guys, what would be like the lowest amount of time you would be totally comfortable regularly taking showers within? Would you be able to manage taking 5-minute regular showers? Or do you need 10, 15, 20 minutes? I want to know what the consensus is down in the comments. Our next story is by Lizard Queen. Want to demand employees come in early without pay and stay strapped to their desks until the clock strikes time off? You got it. I work in a demanding industry. As a result, barely anyone in my department takes their unpaid 1-hour lunch break in full or at all, including myself. Most everyone just eats at their desk while working, including me. A lot of people work unpaid overtime as well, including me. For me, it was about 1 to 2 hours this week on my day off, unpaid overtime to get on top of the work. The manager/boss knows this happens. They see it occur on a daily basis, but doesn't contest it because, free labor. Recently, the boss sent around an office-wide email for a select few that stated work hours are work hours. The email said that they expect everyone to be at work 10 to 15 unpaid minutes early to get a coffee and start work on the dot. They also said that at the end of your work shift is when you stop working and that you can't pack up anything prior, i.e., if you have a cup on your desk, you have to wait until your work ends on the dot to put it in the dishwasher. Doing this 2-minute task prior to the end of your shift is not acceptable. There was more to the email, but it's not relevant to this post. I'm certain this email is partially directed at me because I arrived to work only a few minutes early, grab a cup of tea, takes 1 minute, they have instant hot water, and then start working. I also asked to leave 10 minutes early last week, used 10 minutes of my unpaid break to attend an appointment, which was met with discontent from my manager. Cue this week and the email that followed. Now, this would be a reasonable policy if there was any form of wage theft. Edit wrong term, it should be time theft, not wage theft, happening. But it's the complete opposite. They're well aware that their employees are working through their lunch breaks and working overtime to stay on top of the high workload and essentially providing them with free labor. Therefore, demanding employees come in early and remain strapped to their desks until the clock strikes at the end of the workday is not a reasonable policy. It's just demeaning and glossing over the fact that they're getting free labor on a daily basis from dedicated employees. So today, as my response to this email, I took my full 1-hour break for the first time in literally months. I sat in the break room on my phone for 1 hour. This resulted in the manager walking past, seeing me doing this, and looking very unimpressed. They're used to seeing me sitting in my office, working in between bites of food as a break. They walked past a second time while I was still sitting in the break room, this time completely avoiding my gaze. Having maliciously complied today, I've decided what to do moving forward to continue this malicious compliance. From now on, I'll come into work 5 minutes early and sit at my desk on my phone until my phone alarm signals that it's time to start working. I'll take my unpaid break for the full 1 hour during the day rather than sit at my desk working through this unpaid time. In a month, when they're used to me taking my full unpaid break, I'll work through the day and take my 1 hour unpaid break exactly 1 hour before the end of my workday, meaning I will not return to the office after my break because my workday has ended. There's nothing in our contract that dictates when we can or can't take our break. I have and will continue to maliciously comply, denying them the free labor they took for granted and fully utilizing my unpaid personal time. Yeah, it's definitely funny because they had such a good rap going on for them, and somehow they found a way to complain about it. Like literally imagine nagging somebody about, taking advantage of the rules more in the favor of the employee and not the employer. They were almost advertising how people were working free labor and sending out a reminder to not do that. They were asking for that malicious compliance for sure. Our next story is by Vecro LP. Guest no longer wants to talk to me. So this happened early in the pandemic when everyone was still figuring out what to do. But it was already clear and well known that masks are a must-have if you leave your front door. For context, I work at a McDonald's as a host. Usually my main task is to help guests, give coloring pages and balloons to children, organize events, etc. But ever since about March 2020, I basically became a security guard and first line of offense against the anti-mask Karens and Kens. So if you think this is the only story I got, you are sorely mistaken. This fine spring afternoon was coming to a close, and at this point, I had already been called a word that starts with N for old angry Germans, pig scum, so many times that day that I was no longer taking any crap from these people. A man came in, and because I was standing just in front of the entrance, I could see that this guy was not wearing a mask. So I walked towards him and asked him to please put on a mask. As you might expect, this guy was not a big fan of that sentence, and after a good 5 minutes of me telling him that he's required by law to put on a mask, and him calling me every name in the book, he said something that kinda caught me by surprise. "I'm no longer talking to you." Now, this is weird because besides being our bouncer, I was also the cashier. It wasn't a busy day, and most of the orders came from our McDrive, so I looked at him and asked, "Are you sure?" They said, "Yes, you can leave me alone now because I'm just gonna ignore you." Okay, well, this suddenly became interesting. My boss, who heard the man yelling, looked around the corner and asked if everything was alright, to which I nodded and said I had everything under control. The guy just stood there in front of the cash register with his arms crossed, looking smug. As this was happening, one of our regulars walked in. This is an older lady who rides her bike across town every day and orders a cup of coffee at each McDonald's. So I greet her and ask her if she wants the usual. She says yes. I take her €1 and say it'll be right up. I walk around the angry guy who's now turning red. I ring her up and go grab her coffee. At this point, the guy starts yelling again, "Just what the freak is going on here? Why are you helping her instead of me?" To which I respond, "I'm sorry, sir. He told me to leave you alone and that you were done talking to me." I swear, I thought this guy looked like he was taught all the secrets of the universe. He looked angry, confused, heartbroken, and back to angry again, all in the span of 5 seconds. And without saying another word, he just angrily walked out. Me and the older lady just couldn't contain our laughter at this point. I think the thing that annoys me the most about people who act in this regard is not that they refuse to wear masks. It's that a lot of people who die on that hill will refuse to acknowledge that establishments, restaurants, stores, wherever, legitimately do have the right to deny you service. Just the amount of people I've seen that are like, "I have a right to be here, this is public property," when they're actively inside a company's establishment. Like imagine you own a corner store and somebody comes in doing something that you don't like and doesn't follow your appropriate rules, and then they claim that they have every right to be there, that it's public property. It's like, no, it doesn't work that way. I reserve the right to refuse you service and refuse you access to the premises. And our final story of the day is by Hank Pimp. I can't get my final check until the end of my shift? I gave my 2 weeks at Banana Republic. I was the lowest level of manager there and was happy to get out. The assistant store manager scheduled me to be the closing manager on my last day. It was a Saturday, and she and the store manager didn't want to close. I explained that I shouldn't close because I needed to hand them my keys to the store before I left, so I'd be unable to lock the doors. The store manager, who lived 10 minutes from the store, said I could just come back another day to give them to her. I refused to come back on my own time, so they decided I could hand them over to the Banana Republic near my new job. I came in early to pick up my final check. The company gave you an actual check for your final pay instead of direct deposit. I had plans to go out and celebrate my last day, so I came early to get my check and deposit it. I didn't want to risk drunkenly losing it. The store manager refused to give it to me. Company policy is that you receive your final check at the end of your shift. I say, I'm the manager on duty after 5 p.m. I'm still the one giving it to myself. They say, I can't give it to you now because you might not come back. I say, I suddenly don't feel well. I'm calling out sick. Here's my key. You can mail my final check to me. They say, what? You can't do that. Today's shift is in the check. I say, corporate can issue a new check. I'm going home. You and Marge can figure out who's staying to close. I'm guessing it's going to be you since your salary. She glared at me, then got my check from the drawer behind her. Here. You better come back. I deposited the check at the bank and came back to finish my shift. One of my friends opened with her the next morning, and the store manager said she was surprised I'd recovered the store. She was expecting to walk into a mess, but I'd actually done a good job. I told them, of course, I'm a professional. You gotta hate when somebody's being so needlessly particular. Like you can tell it was almost vindictive in this situation, like they were getting some kind of satisfaction over trying to float the fact that you might not come back, I can't give you this check right now, you'll have to figure it out sometime else. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. So of all these stories I've read today, which is your favorite and why? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you haven't yet, if you could like and subscribe, that would mean a lot to me. Whatever you do, whether it's liking, subscribing, turning notifications on, all of it helps grow this channel and I appreciate the heck out of it. So until next time, I'll see you all tomorrow with some more stories.